Folks, I am happy to start up again great conversations with the Mason County Sheriff's Office. I'm here with Sheriff Ryan Spurling. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you doing? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, and it's good to see you. We got some things to catch up on in regards to Mason County and things that are happening. Let's first start with something I saw on social media today. It was a picture of a group of mailboxes, like from a neighborhood, and one of the doors had been obviously pried open and all the mail was gone. The community was posting about this, so they were letting each other know. But what happens in these types of situations?
Gosh, it's so frustrating. I've had my mailbox pried open and my mail stolen as well. And, you know, it seems to be cyclic. In other words, it happens in cycles. Right before holidays, it gets a little bit worse because people are looking for gift cards.
Okay.
They're looking for anything that they can steal and make use of right away. Sometimes, you know, it could be kids, but a lot of times it's not. It's adults that are trying to support drug addictions and other things like that and getting any way to get money in a quick fashion. So obviously, if you have your mailbox broken into, call the emergency or the non-emergency line and let our deputies know. Don't just assume that somebody knows about it. Make sure, in social media, we don't, you know, have the manpower to scour social media to see what crimes are going on. Make sure you let us know, and we look for the patterns. And if we see any distinguishable pattern, we're able to kind of set up and take a look and keep eyes out on those type of things. One thing I would recommend is obviously a lock mailbox.
Sure.
More people go to that, but it's so expensive. It's frustrating that you have to do that now. Other things is making sure the mailbox area, if possible, is lit up. And even if you have somebody that can have a camera on it, because then you've got license plates, descriptions, and that really aids us in these type of things. And it's a serious crime to steal people's mail.
Yeah, and you know, over the weekend too, I was watching some shows, maybe getting ready for the football game, and they were having a infomercial on LifeLock. And while I'm not advocating for any certain company that does these types of things, the story was that this gentleman had his identity stolen through the mail, and the process to kind of bring him whole again was very difficult. And at times, you know, some of the creditors, the accounts that were open in his name, they didn't necessarily believe him that it wasn't him that did this. And so, of course, they were trying to push this product, but I can see how that can happen in cases.
Absolutely. It's even worse in some respects than losing your purse or your wallet, where now you have to cancel all your credit cards and do all this stuff because you don't know where that trail has gone. How have they used your identity? And it's horrible. And I just wish the individuals that were doing this would take those efforts and put them to a positive work, you know, because it'd make the community better, because they're clever and deceptive, and it's terrible. So yeah, it's a long process and it's hard, but stick with it because it's obviously worth it.
And some of those first steps are making sure law enforcement knows right when this happens, so there's a start of a record.
Right, and you know, especially with banks and everything else, they have video of the person coming in and trying to set up accounts, maybe Social Security or whatever it is. There's a lot of places that now have cameras, and so get a hold of us, let us know what's gone on, and we have some resources that may be able to help. Yes, we're inundated with calls. Just last year, we covered almost 25,000 calls for service in Mason County, and we're still short on staff, but we get after those type of things to our best of our ability.
Sure. Well, let's move into that, some of staffing needs and the best use of sheriff's office deputies that are out there on the roadways that need to be out there. You have a massive amount of roadways, not a lot of straight lines from here to there. You got the waterways as well. So what's going on with the sheriff's office? How can people get involved from the volunteer level to even applying in here?
Yeah, we in August we were 20% down for our staffing. And
so let's stop there. Is that across the board? Is that specifically the jail, on the roads, in the department? Where is that?
That was actually across the board.
Wow, okay.
So we have just over 100 employees at the sheriff's office, including the jail, our support staff, and our patrol staff. And we were 8 down in patrol, 8 down in the jail, and we were 4 down in support. And I challenged the staff because it's just a challenging time. People don't want to work in the jail. They don't want to work in law enforcement. It's been such negative messaging for the last couple years,
right.
Not only in the United States, but in Washington State. It's not the same coveted type position that it used to be. But we're finding that the people that are applying are doing it for the right reasons. It's because they want to help and they want to make a difference and they want to move forward. So we've had really good applicants, really good people that we've hired, and our staff has worked really hard. And at the end of the year, I think we were just 3 down in the jail and 2 down in support, but our patrol side was full. So that's a super exciting thing. But what does that mean when we're full? Well, that means that they still, like the patrol people we hired, we still have a year to 2 years before they're trained, fully functional on the streets. And we're still at about 0.8 deputies per 1,000 citizens out on the streets. Our biggest need is in our jail. And we have some challenges there, and we're excited to move forward. We're working with Legislature. We got $1 million last year from the state I'm trying to think of, the capital budget, there it is.
Okay, yeah.
I was looking for it. We got Travis Couture and Griffey fought for us hard, and we are doing the study. We have a meeting coming up next week where we're looking at kind of revolutionizing or changing, not just us, but everybody's looking this direction, to where you drive up with somebody who has been arrested and they're screened, and we have a campus. And if they need to go to detox because they're coming down from a drug, we have a substance abuse disorder building and staff there. We take them right directly there on that same campus. Or if they're in a mental health crisis, we take them to that building. And then the jail's in the same location so that we can actually better serve, because the jail is not the best place to take to somebody that's in a mental health crisis.
Right.
It's not the best place to take somebody who is detoxing from fentanyl. We need to have better services and then still provide the jail services. So we got to find that balance in there, and we're working that way. And hopefully that'll draw more people to the profession as well.
We were talking with the representatives last week and the week before as the session is underway, and they were telling me that I believe it's Initiative 2114 has kind of garnered enough signatures across the state from its citizens to be potentially looked at by the legislature, or if not, into the November ballot. This deals with changing some of the verbiage when it comes to the pursuit laws.
Yeah, it's an initiative
now,
yes.
and the legislators have an opportunity to hear it and enact it themselves, or put it to the vote for the whole state. I noticed that the change in the law opened it up more to almost what we were talking about at the beginning of the conversation, where if you notice a car that perhaps is engaging in mail theft and it's a white sedan, for example, now if an enforcement officer is out there and perhaps sees a white sedan, with this change potentially they can go and look into that a little more.
Yeah, it gives the discretion back to the agencies greatly, more like it was before the law was passed in 2021. What a lot of people don't understand is anytime we get involved in a pursuit, we have policies and procedures because we understand it's very dangerous. And my family lives in this community. I don't want one of my deputies pursuing somebody who's real desperate and hitting my family head on because they're just going crazy. So we weigh all that out, and we've always had to, by policy, by training, by regulation. We also, officers get sued if they make poor decisions and somebody dies as a result of it. And there's often costly findings with those lawsuits. The other thing is if we do the wrong things, we can be charged criminally as well.
Sure.
So all of those standards have always been in place. And then when the legislature passed and said, you still don't know what you're doing, we know better, they didn't consider some of the consequences that the community has suffered as a result of those. So it'll be interesting to see how this moves forward. Do I believe that law enforcement can make those decisions? Absolutely. It's just, I have no problems with the accountability piece, none whatsoever, because when you give somebody authority, they should be held accountable. But it would open up the doors for us to pursue people if it was necessary. Let me give you an example, and I think my undersheriff covered it in an article in the Journal last week. If that car that was responsible for mail theft, maybe it's a suspect, we get behind it, we run the plate, and the vehicle's stolen. As it stands right now, if they take off, if we light them up, trying to initiate a traffic stop, we can't chase them. And if it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon and school's getting out, we're not going to chase them because the risk outweighs the benefit of getting that person in custody. But if it's 2 o'clock in the morning and there's nobody out, we may chase them now. And that's a discretion that the officer has, and the supervisors out on the streets, they are risk managers. That's their job, is to intervene and say, hey, stop the pursuit, it's too dangerous, or yes, you're okay to continue. And that's the things we have in place. You know, obviously we're not going to just say, okay, now I can chase everybody for everything and endanger the whole community, because pursuits are dangerous. They are, especially when the person's really desperate. And a lot of times we can catch them later. If we have just the basic information, we can put that together and catch them later.
What are some of the other things as we get through this winter season for folks to remember? There might be new people coming into town. I've seen photos of people, you know, stopping by the High Steel Bridge and looking at the waterfalls. We have talked over the years of the tragedies that happen in those areas. So people, and they are, again, another not only terrible situation for families involved there, but strains on the resources for the sheriff's office or the volunteer search and rescue. So what can we talk about when it comes to, you know, adhering to those the signs that we see if people are out exploring, and how does that impact the sheriff's office?
And it basically comes down to education and personal responsibility, right? Don't go out into the woods not understanding what it means if you got stranded and had to survive overnight. You know, we oftentimes will have a search and rescue mission in the spring or the fall where somebody is not prepared, they don't have the right resources, and they get hurt and they're climbing Mount Eleanor or one other thing. And it does use a lot of resources, and it takes those resources away from other functions that we have to do, which is okay. That's what we're supposed to do. But at the same time, personal responsibility, be wise. You know, you're not invincible. None of us are.
Right.
Understand what it is that you're getting into and count the cost and be prepared. And, you know, this is the old Boy Scout thing, you know, be prepared for whatever's coming. In the military, we had a term is pack light and freeze at night. You know, so be prepared if you have to, in an emergency, to stay overnight if you're out in the wilderness. And if you're not, you know, put stuff in your car, even if you're driving to the High Steel Bridge. What if your car breaks down? You're a ways up there.
Sure.
Be prepared to stay for a little while. Make sure your cell phones are charged. Make sure people know where you're at. Check your cell phone reception, because there's places in the county where you don't get it.
Yeah.
But, you know, those are just common sense things. But if you've never experienced that, you may not be aware of it.
We just mentioned search and rescue, bring in the dive operation, the chaplain fund, and some of the fire service here in Mason County. They're all gearing up along with you for another big polar bear plunge.
Oh, excited about that.
It's the it's the second Saturday in February 10th.
Yeah.
And we'll be out there again. This has to be up there 15, 16 years that we've been doing this. The Alderbrook's been a great spot for it, and it raises money for some of those services.
Yes, the Lions Club, the Hood Canal Lions Club Union in that area, they've been doing it for years, and it's a super fun event. And you've obviously been there every time, and we have bands.
Yeah.
And I think the Alderbrook provides chowder and hot coffee and cocoa, and it's just, the last couple of years it's been sunny.
Yeah.
We've been really, really fortunate, and then we had that snow storm that canceled it.
I remember that one too. That was a wild snow. That was a crazy
We got
snow.
like 8 inches or something.
It was like just the day before we were doing that, and it goes to raise funds through a sanctioned nonprofit. Charlie's Vision 501c3 is able to then dole out the funds to the various groups in the county. I think about get maybe 2,000 or better each year for these.
Yeah, and it really does. You know, our volunteers, they donate countless hours to keep the North Precinct open so that citizens in the Belfair area can get their pistol licenses, can get their brush permits, can get fingerprints, can do a myriad of different administrative type things. And that office is staffed by volunteers solely, because we just don't have enough support staff to get up there. And then we have our chaplains who are helping people make next of kin notifications, helping our officers deal with the crisis that they see all the time. Those type of things, being counselors. We have our search and rescue, we have dive team. There's a lot of things that really helps with to help provide the citizens of Mason County better services. So it's a super exciting thing. I love to do it. I love seeing you out there. I'm looking forward to it because I've actually been doing cold plunges. I don't know if you've been watching that, but it's something that's kind of a neat thing. So I'm looking forward to not only getting in, but hanging out
for a little while.
3-4 minutes in the water.
There is science behind sitting there in that cold water for a little while. I tell you that much.
I'm not quite as bold as some. I still sit in the sauna first. I do the Scandinavian way.
Yeah, nice and hot, jump in the cold and get back out. Well, Sheriff Spurling, it's good to see you and nice to talk with you about issues that impact the citizens, not only in Mason County, but the surrounding listening area. It's always impactful to know your relationship with the legislative representatives here in the 35th does go a long way to help our citizens, and just a very open sheriff's office and willing to help. If you see Ryan walking around, make sure you talk to him about donating to the Hood Canal Lions Polar Plunge. Again, it's February 10th up at the Alderbrook. Good to see you.
And thank you, Jeff, for all that you guys are doing. I just love what you're doing for our community. I appreciate it in so many ways, and you've done it for so many years.
Thank you so much. Thanks.